Is being recorded.
Right, we're April 1st, 2020, AQAvit meeting. I'm only going to share briefly my screen because we have some stuff on the agenda that other people will show some of the progress on these topics. We'll first start with Lan, probably has a couple items to update us on relating to debug image and potentially the updates in TRSS if she wants to show that. Followed by Sophia talking briefly on the recent reorganization of Sanity OpenJDK. And then I'll do a quick review of the final PR, yoo-hoo, of the external tests that's just being reviewed now, and then the updates to the test jobs. So with that, I will stop sharing and pass it over to Lan.
Sure, thanks. And then I will share my screen so you can see. I will do a quick demo. So to talk about, there's two things I'm going to talk about today is the auto download for debug image and test image, and then the update in TRSS. So I'm going to start with the test image and debug image. So basically the idea comes from we want to help the developer to have a user-friendly basically interface, so they don't right now if they want to provide us jars, whether it's SDK or test image or debug image, they have to use this customized SDK URL, and then they have to provide us multiple URL actually points to different things. So to help them for that, we actually start to do the auto download for them. So the idea being instead of the user that provides multiple URL, they only need to provide one URL for us. Actually, I have build out already launched. I just want to show the example. So in this case, we only need to provide one URL that points to the SDK. And then we introduced the two variables here, test image required and then debug image required. By default, they are true, which means if the user provide one URL and the URL points to OpenJ9 SDK, then we will auto download OpenJ9 test image and OpenJ9 debug image. So they don't need to provide multiple URL. That's the idea. For now, this only works with OpenJ9 SDK URL. But in the future, we are planning to use those flags for the nightlies and the nightlies and releases. So when we download from the Adopt API version 3, user also be able to download the test image and the debug image if they're available. So just follow this example. If you provide one URL, what happens in this build is, let's look at the console output. We will auto download the test image and the debug image for you. And so you don't need to provide extra information. But if you don't want those information, just when in a grinder, simply just say, you know what, I don't need debug image, for example. So then you can just rebuild. Hopefully I can find a machine to run. But you get the idea. On an output, it will just only auto download whatever you checked. Or if you uncheck both of them, then nothing will be auto download. It will only download whatever that you provide. If you want to provide a multiple URL, then the auto download will not be triggered. We will just download whatever stuff that you told us to download. So that's the basic idea. For the auto download, I'm not gonna just wait for the build to complete, but if you guys have any questions, feel free to ask or reach out to us offline. Now,
thanks, that's great. And as already was commented by some of the developers, they were forgetting to include native test image URLs in that space-separated field for customized SDK URL. So this is going to help them quite a lot.
Yeah.
where they don't have to restart a grinder because they've forgotten to provide information.
Right. And yeah, so for the upstream build, they also can leverage this as well to just provide us one SDK link, and then we can download the rest of the stuff for them. Now I'm going to jump to the TRSS. So for TRSS this week, we're going to talk about the update for support Cradle build and the Valhalla build. So this is the public TRSS server. And as you can see here, we already have the Cradle listed. And it will show if there's a Cradle build, then the Cradle build will show up. It's exactly behaves the same as JNI or hotspot. It's just extra columns. So all this select menu still works. So if you say, let's say if I only care about Cradle build, then you can uncheck anything else, and then just check Cradle builds, and then just say I only care about Linux. Then I just click on Linux, and then it only shows the stuff that you care about. Or you can compare them if, say, I want to compare JNI or hotspot with Cradle, and that's how it works. So it's the same behavior, just another extra column for Cradle. Another thing is for Valhalla. Unfortunately, Valhalla is not running in Adopt, so we're jumping to the internal TRSS. So this is a build that we're running internally, internal lightly build, and we have the Valhalla build. So we're actually running a lot, as you can see here. It's quite a long list. We're running JDK 8, JDK 11, JDK 14, Next, and Valhalla. At this point, it's only Linux x86-64. You will see the Valhalla build. So same idea. I don't care about anything else. I only care about Valhalla. You just uncheck the rest. Just click on the stuff that you actually care about. So let's say Valhalla with JNI and hotspot. So that's how it works. The difference between Valhalla and Cradle is the dimension is different. So Valhalla is, if the build doesn't contain Valhalla build, then we don't even have this whole section for Valhalla. So as you can see,
we consider Valhalla to be an equivalent of a version because it's sort of like a branch. So just as we have a JDK 8, JDK 11, and JDK Next, we have JDK Valhalla. So
so it's
that's a nice way to handle it for sure.
Right, it's a JDK version in a JDK version group. So if your build contains those, then those are dynamically populated based on your own build. Yeah. If you don't have Valhalla, it's not going to show up. But Cradle will always show up for Cradle, assuming that's already there, because that's a JDK implementation. So that's slightly different. And also, if you want to run Grindr for Valhalla, then your JDK version should set up to Valhalla. And then you have to turn off the auto detection for the JDK version, because Valhalla is not really a real JDK version, so we cannot match with the real JDK version, because that's going to be a digit to a string.
Yeah, there are a few caveats for running grinders. Also, you have to be clear about your build list as well. I think I am going to try to return to updating the doc, which has been an open draft PR for a while. I guess I can try to capture the Valhalla exceptional case in some doc for now.
Right.
I guess the idea is in future version, this stuff will get absorbed into an actual released version, and there will be no further need for JDK Valhalla, that branch. But could certainly be other branches that we'll need to handle in this same way.
Right. Yeah. So yeah, that's it for the update for the TRSS.
Nice.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So again, if you guys have any questions, feel free to reach us, and then we can answer questions or if there's any feedbacks, you're welcome to provide to us. And then that's it. I'm going to stop sharing.
Fantastic. And then I think we had Sophia up for a brief overview of the recent change, for the sanity.openjdk. You want to say a few words, Sophia? Are you on mute, Sophia? Oh, there you are.
Yeah, I tried to unmute, but it doesn't work. I don't know why.
No worries. I just thought it might be worth, again, even though there was a note put out to the Slack channel, just a brief overview of the recent reorganization of the sanity.openjdk target.
Yeah.
Cool.
So it's very like simple and straightforward. So in the adopt test, we have the different level for the test, like sanity or extended. So initially for the OpenJDK test, we put the JDK underscore len or other subset as the sanity based on its importance or its running time. So now we have reorganized those tests according to the OpenJDK has the tier 1. So which means now it's aligned with the OpenJDK test. We have for the different version, we have the different, like sanity has a different test. So now it's only like for 8 is JDK len or JDK math, or there's a little bit different for the different version. So which also means going forward, if there's some update about those tiers 1 test, we will also accordingly update. So yeah, that's the job.
Yeah, that's great. And I guess the most notable differences would be that some of the less stable tests in JDK net and JDK util have moved into the extended level.
Yeah.
Out of sanity, and some new tests relating to buffers, and there's a JDK foreign group for version 14 that came in. So if you're interested, I'll put a link in these minutes to the PR to look at the exact details of what changed. But I think overall it means the sanity.openjdk target should actually run a little quicker as well.
Yes, and also, yeah, as you mentioned, like because the JDK underscore foreign, it's a new one. So if people are doing the triage or they monitor the build, probably pay a little more attention to those newly added tests.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's good. Great, thanks, Sophia.
Thank you. Stop. I'm gonna stop my sharing.
The only other thing I was going to then mention is the I'll share one last time, a very quick mention of so we've gone through, this is a PR number 4 of updating the external tests, the final set, which are the microprofile TCK tests. There's still some revisions that need to happen here to make sure that they're running properly. But what this actually means is that's the final set of tests to be converted. And I know I've talked about it in other AQAvit meetings, so this is a bit repetitive. But what it means now is all of these tests, with the exception of Elasticsearch, because it's special and going to need special handling. All of these tests now, the playlist actually calls this script, which will generate the test Docker file on the fly based on certain criteria. And what I wanted to also note, there are some additional changes. This is running right now. It's the same Jenkins file underneath, but for these tests now, for sure, this parameter needs to be defined. By default, we'll set it as Ubuntu, but this can be any Docker OS that is supported. We haven't included the Windows OS support yet. This could be Alpine, Debian, Debian Slim, UBI Minimal. I think there were 8 different variations that we can support now. So these bottom 2 parameters, Docker is required and Ubuntu, must be used for those external tests now. And you'll note that I am also opening this newly added job, which is called special.external. So as part of this work, we actually reorganized these 2 tests groups are kind of unique anyway, this functional test and system test. It's actually taking our functional set and our system set of tests that are a top-level group and running them inside Docker containers. We've re-tagged these now to be run as a special level inside Docker containers so that we can use special.external as the way that we test unofficial Docker images to see if they pass those 2 sets of tests, the system test and the functional test. They'll be able to graduate up to official Docker Hub status. So I'm adding those jobs now to make sure that we are able to verify those things. And I think it's tracked under issue 1700. When that's closed, we'll start to formally test the Docker images for moving them into official. But I'll put all those notes and links into the minutes for this. I think that's all I had. Was there any other items or any other business that people wanted to talk about today? A nice short and sweet meeting, perhaps. Thanks, everyone, for continuing to do all the great work you're doing. I know it's a funny time in the world right now, and I think you're doing an incredible job, and I really appreciate being able to work with all of you on this project. All right, so I think that's all I had for today. So we can close the call early and look forward to the call in 2 weeks. I was going to ask one last thing, if it's useful, do people want an actual invite in their calendar for the call? Because I can send that out. I think I've only put it in my calendar as a placeholder myself, but I realize that it might be handy for people.
If you can send that would be more.
All right, cool.
Thank you.
I'll send it out later today. All right, everyone. Thanks very much. Talk to you soon.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.